Hello everyone. So recently I have been thinking a lot about Mob Beauty, and one of the reasons for that is because I have been really interested in their new lip liner that I just did a video on. So this is a sort of a recreation of the original MAC Spice that Vic Casale helped to create when he was at MAC in the 1990s, and now they created a new version of that in the original color, which is called the M1990 lip pencil, and I have really been liking that. But there is another product that I thought was really interesting that I thought it would be fun to do a video on, and this is called the French and 5 palette, and it has 4 different makeup items, and the idea is that you can use these to create a sort of a casual French makeup look in 5 minutes. So I thought that what I would do is to time myself putting on these particular products and to see if I could really create a decent makeup look in 5 minutes. And then I thought that I would also talk about all of the other products that Mob is currently offering, because I have tried all of them, and in a lot of the products I have tried quite a few different shades. So I thought that what I would do is just talk a little bit about each product and let you know what I think the good things about them are, and so that you can have a little bit easier of a time deciding which ones to start out with if you do decide to buy something from this company. So this little palette was designed by a makeup artist named Michelle Spieler. So she works in the entertainment industry, and then she also has a YouTube channel that is called Mature Makeup Masterclass. And then she also has a program, which I think is on Teachable, where you can listen to a series of videos where she talks more systematically about applying makeup on mature skin. And I did purchase that. It was $60-something, I think. And I thought that that was a really good program, so I did really enjoy that. And I'm not associated with her at all. I haven't talked to her at all, but I have learned a lot from her videos. So earlier today, I did film myself putting on this little palette. It did take me about 9 minutes, but I also put on some of the Mob Beauty Cream Foundation, and I put on some eyebrow pencil. So if I eliminated those things, I think it would be getting fairly close to 5 minutes. I'm not as agile of a makeup artist, obviously, as someone like Michelle Spieler, and it took me a little bit of extra time to put on the eyeliner, I think, but it was a really quick makeup look, and I am kind of liking the way that it is looking, so I think it's worth sharing. So I thought that what I would do is just share with you all 9 minutes of that footage without actually cutting it, so you can get an idea of what it is like for someone that is not all that skilled in makeup to put this on in real time. I might speed up the footage a little bit depending on what the editing process is like, but in general you should be able to get a good sense of how quickly these products go on just by looking at the footage while I talk about the other products. So first, a little bit of information about me. I am 59 years old, and I do have dry and sensitive skin, and I have never had any kind of cosmetic procedures such as injections or surgery or even lasers, and I don't use any filters or photoshopping on this channel, so my goal is to use makeup and skincare products to look a little bit fresher and maybe even a little bit younger. And over the past 3 years, I've tried more than 1,000 makeup products, so I do have a pretty good basis of comparison for everything that I try. And I have learned that there are certain ingredients that always do irritate my skin, and so I know that those are ingredients that do irritate other people's skin as well, so I just don't talk about any of those products with those ingredients on this channel. So I have been thinking recently that Mob Beauty probably is my favorite makeup brand at this point. Now, they do use synthetic colors in their products, but other than that, they are really using only ingredients that I think are okay and that have not been irritating at all to my skin. And I also feel like all of these products have performed well for me, and that in a lot of cases, compared to all of the products that I have tried, many of them are best in category, or at least they have all performed quite well for me. And in addition, they are vegan, they're cruelty-free, they use all compostable packaging, and all of the products that they offer, they don't have silicones in them, and they don't have plastics in them, or they don't have other ingredients that would interfere with their breaking down and becoming part of the earth again. So they are a really environmentally conscious company, and I think that they're also making really good products in terms of the performance, and they all have normal shelf lives, so it's not like they're saying that things have to be discarded in 6 months. They're all the same sort of shelf life that you would see in any products, 12 months, 24 months, things like that. So I am really impressed with everything that they are doing there, and I think that they really are on a mission, that they are accomplishing a lot. So that does make me want to buy from them too, but mostly I just really like the products themselves. So in terms of French makeup style, I talked a little bit about this in one of my videos from last year on a company called Violet FR. And what I feel like in terms of how French women tend to wear makeup is that, first of all, it tends to be much more casual than a lot of women in the United States wear makeup. They tend to do a lot less styling of their hair, so I didn't put much effort into that today. And also to not wear quite as much makeup, and to have the makeup look fairly natural with maybe just a red lip or a dramatic type of an eye. So they're not usually wearing apparently contour type products, and they may use foundation, but the goal is to have it look like a natural foundation and maybe to use a small amount of it as needed to cover up whatever kinds of issues they might have. And then in terms of their face, they tend to either choose a red lipstick to really emphasize their lips, or to choose an eyeshadow that's a little bit more flamboyant. But usually when they do that, they're either choosing one or the other. They're not choosing to have a really dramatic eye and a red lip at the same time. And I think that that's a way of wearing makeup that I feel much more comfortable with also, that it feels more casual and less made up and more just kind of, oh, I just threw this lipstick on, at the last minute, and that I have more important things to do with my life besides just putting on makeup, which I think is a nice philosophy and one that I feel much more comfortable with. So for this palette, it comes with 4 different makeup items in it. So there is an eyeshadow that's like a neutral taupe. There is a highlighter, which doesn't have any color in it. It's more like a champagne type of a color. And there is a black eyeliner, and there is a red lipstick. So to start out, I put on a little bit of my Ilia Base Face Milk, and this is a moisturizer that is kind of liquid, and it has some squalane and some sodium hyaluronate in it. So I think that it provides a nice little tacky moisturized surface to my skin, but it is not too greasy, and it seems to work really, really well with makeup. And then Ma Beauty does not make an eyebrow pencil, and when I am in a hurry, I always use the Jones Road brow pencil, and I have this in the color Ash. And this is an unusual eyebrow pencil because it has little fibers in the pencil, and so when I put this on my eyebrows, it makes my very scant eyebrows look like they actually have some texture to them, even if I don't put any brow gel in them. And so if I'm in a hurry, this goes so much faster than other brow products, and I think it makes a pretty plausible look. I don't think it necessarily is always going to last you all day, depending on what you're doing, but I think it's a lot faster to put this on and then maybe adjust it later on in the day than it is for me to put on a regular brow pencil and then also to use brow gel. That can take much, much longer, and so usually if I'm doing something fast, I will always use this little pencil. And then next I'm putting on the Mob foundation, and I'm just using this as a spot concealer. So I have 2 different shades. One of them is a pink shade, Pink 30, and I'm putting that under my eyes as a mild color corrector. And then the other shade is the Neutral 20, and I'm using this on other parts of my face where I have some irregularities or some reddishness, just to give my face a little bit more of a consistent basis. So this foundation comes in 36 shades, and it has a really simple numbering system where the shades are either labeled as being gold or pink or olive or neutral. And Vic Casale, who created this foundation line, he also created the Colors of the World Crayola crayons. And so I think that he has a really good system here in terms of making it really easy to find a shade that's appropriate for you and that does represent a wide variety of skin tones. And I have found that it was very easy for me to find a good shade in this line, or two good shades, and that I think that other people have found it fairly easy as well. Now, this is supposed to be a foundation and a concealer, and I have found that it was a little bit thick for me to use on my face in general. I did hear from a YouTuber named Britt Whitkin, and she said that she had taken just like a drop of oil and mixed it with some of this foundation, and it became much more like a liquid foundation that she could use all over her whole face. So I do want to experiment a little bit with doing that, but for me, I feel like concealers are much more appropriate for my skin anyway, and so I have been just using it that way. So I will take a little bit with my finger and dab it on, and then I will take a brush that's more like a buffing brush, and then I will use that just to buff it into the skin so it really melds with the skin. And I would think that especially if you're doing French makeup, that having the makeup really meld with the skin so you can't tell that it's there, that would be the step that's the most important. And in general, I feel like that's the most important step for me too. I really don't want people to know that I'm wearing makeup or to notice that I'm wearing foundation. I just want to look like my skin is more even and that I'm healthy looking. And it's getting a little bit warm here now, and I am feeling like what I need is to put on a little bit of powder. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is talk about the powder and put on a little bit of that. So this is a powder that comes in 4 different shades, and their newest shade is this pink shade. And I am a real fan of pink powder in general, and this one is really nice as well. So I'm really happy that they released this powder, but in general, I think that this Ma Beauty powder has been really terrific for me. So this powder, I think, is one that I think it's very similar, in my opinion, to the Kosas pressed powder, except I think I might like this even more. I think that regardless of what makeup I am wearing, that I can put on a little bit of this, and it doesn't make my face feel too dry, but it seems to work well with pretty much any makeup that I might be wearing. And this comes in 4 different shades, so I have the translucent one, which is supposed to be appropriate for people with lighter skin, and then I have this pink one. I think the pink one just makes my face look like it has a little bit more of a like blood flow to the surface of my skin, and just makes me look a little bit healthier and a little bit more youthful without making it look like I'm wearing a lot of blush all over my face. And as I've said a number of times on this channel, this container does kind of drive me crazy because it's kind of difficult to get the lid on and off. So there was a note in the most recent purchase that I made that says that you're supposed to twist it on. I think it still goes on and off with difficulty, and I still get a little puff of powder that comes out when I take the lid off or put the lid on. But in general, they really want things to be compostable at Ma Beauty, and I like this particular powder so much that I'm willing to put up with the container in order to use it. So now let's move on to the items that are in the palette. So the first one that I will put on is the Taupe Cream Clay Eyeshadow. And so if you're familiar with, for instance, the MAC paint pots, which I think that Vic Casale did originally develop, then this is kind of the same concept. I don't feel like it's as bulletproof of a formula as the paint pots, but I do think that it goes on very nicely and prettily, and you can kind of move it around with your fingers to kind of adjust it. And then it does harden down to something that does, in my opinion, stays in place for a considerable length of time. And it comes in a bunch of different colors, which I will show you. This color here is probably the most neutral one that they have. And so I think that for the purposes of this eyeshadow look, what the goal here is to not draw a lot of attention to the eyes because I'm wearing a red lip here. And so I think that the idea is that, especially when you get older, that when your eyes are going to have some discoloration on the top, and just having a little bit of a neutral eyeshadow on them to cover that stuff up can be a good thing, and this is a really efficient way to do that. So oftentimes I will just use like a concealer, a liquid concealer to do that, or some other kind of product, or MAC paint pot. But I think that this one works really well, and it doesn't really seem to need a primer down there. And I think that this color looks like it's an attractive color that looks like it could be my natural color of my eyelids, but it's not looking like I have an eyeshadow that's made up. So I happen to have a whole bunch of these cream clay eyeshadows, so I will show you the ones that I have, which is really most of the ones that I make at this point, I think. But there's a few of them that are newer, so the new ones, there's this green one, which I think is very pretty, and there is one that is, this one's like a black denim, and so it's, if you put it on and then you shear it out a little bit, it does turn into a blue color, even though it looks really black in the pan. And then I have this one, which is kind of a cornflower blue. And then in addition, I've got a whole bunch of other colors. So here are some on the top row here. These are ones that are more bright. Those are maybe a little bit too bright for me. And then I have a whole bunch of other ones in this palette. And a lot of these are kind of on the grungy side. So they are colors that were originally designed to be kind of goth type shades, but I think that for me and for my low contrast coloring, that these have worked really, really well on me. And I can put them on a little bit thicker, but usually what I will do is just put them on with a flat brush, like the one that I used in the video footage, and then really kind of smear them around a little bit so that they're not very bright and that they're just giving kind of a wash of color on my eyelids. And if I do that, then they tend to look really pretty with just one color, or sometimes I will mix together a couple of these colors together to kind of coordinate with what I am wearing. And then they usually will dry down, and they will usually stay in place a lot longer than you would think. So the issue with a lot of cream eyeshadows is they just don't last very long. And in this case, I think that they do hold up really well, and they feel a little bit more like a powder rather than a cream once they actually get on and they do dry. So in general, I think that these are really kind of underrated and they're not talked about too much, but they are creating a sort of a slightly messy type of an eye. So if you're looking for something where you can use multiple shades and you can create something that's precise and you can do something like a cut crease or make your eyes look like they're further apart, then I kind of don't think you're going to be real happy with this. That's not really the kind of look that they're going for with this. This is a much more casual type of an eye look that I think is really a kind of in style right now, where you just put on a little something, it only takes a couple seconds, and then you're done with it, rather than spending 15, 20 minutes working on your eyes. I've kind of never done that in my life, spent that much time putting on eye makeup. So all of the Mob Beauty products now, they come with their own compostable type container, for instance, like this one. So you don't need to buy any other kind of container. You don't need to buy a refillable container. It all is self-contained. So if you just want to buy one eyeshadow and that's it, you can do that. But on the other hand, they do still sell their plastic containers, and I think that if you want to create a palette, that this is a really, really terrific way to do it, because you can see the whole thing with a clear lid on it, and you can reorganize them as you choose. And I think that this is made in a way that really is going to last forever. So I don't see ever getting rid of this. And I think that what would kind of be nice is if other companies were to create products to put in this palette. I think that that could be even more sustainable, because this is really my idea of like a perfect system in terms of creating your own refillable type products that really work well and that are really kind of a pleasure to use. So although it is certainly possible to put on these cream clay eyeshadows with my finger, and I have done that, I do think that it works a lot better if I use like a small paddle brush. So for instance, this one is the A505 brush from BK Beauty, so it is part of the Angie Hot and Flashy line. And I think that if I use this, I can take up the just enough product and I can put it on really precise, much more precisely, and then blend it in so it's much more like a wash of color. And I think it's a little bit more difficult to do that with my fingers. Another brush that I have sometimes used for that is this one from Jones Road, and this is called the Detail Brush. So I think that, at least for me, using a brush has been a much better choice for these shadows. So I think a lot of people will also be reminded of the Merit eyeshadows, but I think that compared to the Merit shadows, I actually am liking these a bit more. I think that they go on a little bit more easily, and they're a little more blendable, and there's certainly a lot more colors, and the usage life is longer. So for the Merit shadows, they're only supposed to last for 6 months, which I think is really, really short. But I think that the main thing about these shadows is that they are just a little bit easier to blend in, and they're not quite as fuzzy in terms of getting patchy. And I actually think that they last longer. And I think that the variety of colors that there are, I think that that's really appealing. So I think they've really been overlooked in comparison to some other products that are on the market. So the next product in this palette is an eyeliner, this black eyeliner here. So Mob Beauty makes a number of cake eyeliners, and what you do with this is that you take a brush, and the one that I used in the video footage is this Mob Beauty brush, which currently is out of stock on both Credo and Mob Beauty, so I'm wondering if they're going to get that back in again, or maybe they're replacing it with a different brush. But in any case, this brush is really kind of flat, so it makes it easier to draw a really thin line on the eyes. And the idea here is that you take the brush, you wet it in a glass of water, and then you make a little puddle on the eyeliner, and then you pick up some of that wetness, and then you can draw on your eyes. And I feel like I was really concerned about the idea of using a black eyeliner, because I feel like in general, black eyeliners tend to be really out of control on me and to come across as much more heavy of a look than I really want. So I feel like my coloring in general is quite muted, and that if I am using either a black eyeliner pencil or a felt tip pen, or really any kind of a black eyeliner, that in the past it really has not worked very well. And I've tried liquid eyeliner, and I feel like in general that when I do that, really all that you see is that I'm wearing eyeliner. But with this one, I feel like I was able to use such a small amount of the product, and it goes on so easily, that I feel like today, although I'm wearing black eyeliner and then I put some black mascara over that, I feel like my eyes are really not looking like they're really overly dramatic, and that it is giving a little bit of a French vibe, and they're a little bit more black in terms of my eyes, mascara look and my eyeliner look than I would usually wear. I think that it's kind of looks pleasant with the rest of my face. And I think that the total reason for that is because of how well this product works, that it's much easier for me to create a fine line and a non-dramatic look with this than it is with any other of the black eyeliners that I have tried. Now, Mob Beauty does create a number of other eyeliners that are cake eyeliners that I have used. So I have these colors that are on the bottom row here. So there's one that's brown, there's one that's kind of a bluish color, there's one that's I think it's like a tattoo ink type color, and so it's supposed to be like a really, really dark blue or a dark blue green. And then there's one other color here that I can't remember. And I think that all of these colors have looked really nice, but I'm really surprised that I'm actually liking that black color. That was really a surprise to me. I thought that I was going to just use this palette and then never use that color again. But the fact that this is such a good formula does make it usable. Now, unfortunately, that eyeliner brush from Mob Beauty is not currently available, but I have used those cake eyeliners with some other kinds of brushes before, and I do feel like that has worked well for me too. So, for instance, this is called a smudge brush from Jane Iredale, and I think that one has been okay. And I think I especially like this one, which is from BK Beauty, and this is the 208 brush, I think. So this one is very small and it's also very thin. So I certainly think I can get a really thin line with this. Or if you want a line that's a little bit thicker, then Jones Road has this eyeliner brush. So you may have an eyeliner brush already in your collection that you can use, or I'm sure that you can pick up one that will work with this until Mom Beauty decides what they're going to do with their brush. But I do really like their brush, so I hope that they bring it back, or that they bring back something that is even better. And then the third product that comes in this little kit is called a Hyaluronic Highlighting Balm, and it comes in this champagne type color. So this doesn't really have very much color to it, and it is just looking like it's adding a little bit of like hydration to the skin, so a little bit of kind of a glassy type of a look. So I think of this as being kind of similar to the Jones Road Miracle Balm in terms of the kind of look that it gives. It's really not designed to look shimmery. It's designed to make your face look like it's a little bit moister and a little bit glowier, but not so much that it looks like you're really sweating, hopefully. So I think that this is one of my favorite products from Mom Beauty. So it is kind of similar, for instance, to the Westman Atelier Lit Up Sticks, which are like highlighting sticks that have that kind of a glossy look to them. Or Chanel makes a product that is called the Baume Essentiel, and that one also gives that kind of a glowy type of a look. There's also another product that is from Beauty Counter that is very similar to this. Now, Beauty Counter is currently in a very extended hiatus until fall, if it ever comes back. I hope it comes back. And this product is not available from Ulta, but I think that this one from Beauty is at least as good as the Beauty Counter one, probably better. And it's also less expensive than the Beauty Counter one was. So I think that we can manage just fine with this particular product. This does come in 4 different shades. So there's a rose gold one, which I think is very pretty. And there is a bronze one, which is more like a bronzer, but has a little bit of glowiness to it. And then there's one that's iridescent, so it's kind of has a lot of glowiness to it. And for the regular versions of this hyaluronic highlighting balm, they come in a palette that's the size of this, so it's twice as big. But for this little palette, they made the half size, and I think that that's a really nice idea, and that this does make a really compact little palette that is very usable. So I do like this an awfully lot. And I do think that of highlighters that are in this glassy type of category, that this is maybe the one that I like the most. So it's not sticky, it doesn't have any kind of a scent to it, it is very pleasant to use, it doesn't look like it's too much, and it's very easy to control, and the price is a really good price point. And it does come in those 4 different colors. So I would definitely recommend that as being one to consider if you're interested in that kind of a glowy Jones Road Miracle Balm type of a look. Now, in terms of lipsticks, Mom Beauty has 3 different kinds. So the first one that I do like a lot in terms of how it feels on my lips is their cream lipsticks. And these come in a variety of different, mostly pretty soft colors. And they do have an awful lot of moisturizing ingredients in them and hydrating ingredients. And they feel really great on my lips. I do feel like I need to keep reapplying these over and over again, but I don't really mind because they do go on really easily and they are really pretty. And then in addition, they make a line of lip balms, and these have a little bit of a mint flavor to them, and they are more clear looking with some color to them rather than having a creamy type of a base. I have had a little bit of a problem with those. I've had a couple of them totally disintegrate and turn into a big pile of muck. And I felt like I was actually treating one of them quite well. So I'm not sure I really trust that formula, but it really may have just been like a bad batch. Recently, I did get one that was a black color, and I tried this on in a recent video. And I think that this was an interesting color. It definitely looked kind of black on my lips, but I have gotten some use out of that by putting it on over really bright lipstick. So if I do that, it will kind of tone them down a little bit, make them look a little bit darker, and in some cases a little bit more wearable. And then the third lipsticks that they have are called matte lipsticks, but I actually feel like they're much more like most companies' cream lipsticks or satin lipsticks. And they come in mostly colors that have been developed by some makeup artists that Mob Beauty is collaborating with. So there's a variety of different shades that are kind of a hodgepodge. So there's some that are brighter colors. There's some that are clearly designed for probably darker skin tones. There's some that are kind of on the goth side. And Michelle Spieler created this one, which is sort of a rosy mauve color. And I don't think that's unattractive, but there's really an interesting color selection for that because it's really not designed to be a cohesive color selection. It's supposed to be a collaboration with makeup artists that have big social media followings. But there is one shade in that Vic Casale actually did develop himself. And so this one is a much more of a classic blue-red type of a lipstick. And I think it's been okay, but I would not say that this lipstick formula has been really my favorite in terms of how well it goes on or how well it stays. And again, I do think it's much more like a cream type of lipstick. And so all that being the case, I think it was a really interesting idea to take that formula and to put it in this palette. So this apparently is the same formula that is that red lipstick that Vic Casale developed, but they put it in this palette, and the suggestion is that you can put it on either with your fingers or with a brush. And I have tried both ways, and I think that that has been a much nicer way to put on this lipstick. And I feel like it actually looks nicer in the end, and I think that it feels nice on my lips. And it looks kind of comfortable, and I can put it on in a kind of a light layer, and so it doesn't look too dramatic. And I'm sort of getting to the feeling that this is red lipstick, but it's kind of more of a casual red lipstick. And I think it's a little bit harder to put this on from the bullet. So I think that this was a really good idea, and as I look at myself in the mirror or the monitor, I kind of like how this is looking on my lips, whereas when I put on the red lipstick itself, it does look much more brighter. And I can try that, but I do think that that's a bit more of a bright lipstick when I do it that way. So here's that lipstick. Oh, that's so bright. That's way too bright, at least as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure that some people with my complexion think that's fine, but in terms of the lipstick look that I'm looking for, that's a little bit too much for me. So see, now I need to take some of that off. So, of course, you could take a brush and you could put on your lipstick straight from the bullet with the brush, or you could even do it with your fingers, and I have done that from time to time. But I do think it's also much more convenient to have it all in one palette and to not have to have that extra lipstick. I think this is quite a good palette in terms of how it's encouraging you to use these products, and also in terms of being a really easy product to just throw in your purse and carry around and then do touch-ups on the road. I think that all of these work really well, and I really think that when I ordered this, I was thinking, well, this is kind of be fun to put on video, but I don't think I'm really going to get much wear out of that, because usually when I have red lipsticks, I tend to not remember to wear them or not think that they're appropriate. But I feel like this look is one that I really could wear just going out and doing whatever, and that people are not necessarily going to look at me and notice how much eyeliner I'm wearing or that my lips are red. It's looking actually fairly comfortable. So I can see myself actually continuing to use this on a regular type of a basis throughout the rest of the summer. So I'm going to try to see if I can get some more use out of this particular palette. Now, Mob Beauty does have a mascara that I have used, and I thought that the mascara was okay. It is one of those mascaras that you have to wipe it off really carefully on the side of the container before putting it on, because it seems like there's an awfully lot of product that comes out on the brush. But if I did wipe it off like that, I thought that it was a very nice mascara. It didn't irritate my eyes. It did give my eyelashes a full type of a look. and I think that it held up pretty well once I did get it on my eyes and once I did get it dried. So it was certainly an okay mascara as far as I was concerned, but it is not currently on either the Credo site or the Ma Beauty site, so I'm not sure if it's just out of stock or if they're reformulating it, but it wasn't a bad mascara. And so instead of using that one, I decided to use the Rituel de Fille mascara, and that one I think is very similar to the Ma Beauty mascara in terms of how it performs. So it's, again, one of those mascaras that a lot of it does come out on the brush, and then I do have to wipe it off, but it seems to behave fairly well once I get it on my eyes. And it's certainly not irritating at all, and it's certainly holding up pretty well, and I think that it's looking pretty good. And when I've worn it out walking or in the rain or whatever, it hasn't been bad at all. And that is one of the few products that Rituel de Fille has that are not made in the labs that they apparently supervise in California. That one is actually, I think, made in Italy, and I think it's a much more advanced type of a formula than I would usually expect from Rituel de Fille. So let's talk briefly about the rest of the Ma Beauty products. So there are some cream products, which I will start with, and then there are some powder products, which I also do like, and then I'll finish up with. And so what I have here first are the Hyaluronic highlighting balm that I like so much. And then there is a sparkle balm, which I think is pretty much the same as that highlighting balm, but it has some sparkly stuff in it. And this is supposed to be like a little bit glittery, but it does not have any, it doesn't have diamonds in it, it doesn't have plastic in it, it doesn't, thankfully, have bio glitter in it, because I think that bio glitter tends to be irritating to me. So I think it's just mica and synthetic mica, and so it looks kind of shimmery, but it's not too shimmery for me to wear either on my cheeks or on my eyes, and I have enjoyed that one a lot. And that one comes in 2 different colors. And then Ma Beauty also makes cream play blush, and this is also a little bit like those eyeshadows. What I would say is distinctive about this blush is that it tends to last on the cheeks a lot longer than most of the other blush that I have. So most of the time when I put on any kind of a cream blush, my skin tends to really eat it up really fast, especially if I am not wearing a primer or a foundation. But even when I am, in a lot of cases, cream blush will disappear for me. There are really only a few blush formulas that I have found that do last very well on my skin. So the Honest Beauty blushes, those actually last really, really well, surprisingly so. And you have to work a little bit to blend them in, but they do tend to be a lot less likely to get eaten up by the skin, which is why I think that Meghan Markle wore that particular product on her wedding day. But I think that this Ma Beauty formula has been really just about as good as anything that I have ever tried. They do offer a really wide variety of different colors of blush, and so I think that regardless of what color you're looking for, you may find it in this particular line. And I do think that, especially when it comes to staying power, these are really, really impressive. And then there also are some cream play bronzers that I talked about in the video that I did on the Byredo palette and that Mauve lip liner. And there's one of those that is kind of a rose taupe shade that I think is almost like a blush color. And then there's one that's more of a traditional type of a bronzer. And then there's a couple that are deeper. And again, I think that these tend to stay pretty well on the face. They're operating pretty much like the blushes. And I think that if you're looking for a cream bronzer, it's a nice formula. And then in terms of their powder products, they do have powder bronzers that are the same color as the cream play bronzers, and I talked about those in that lip liner video also. And I think that as bronzers go, these are very nice. It's a very nice formula. It has some squalane in it. I think that it looks really nice on my skin, and I think that compared to a lot of bronzers that are on the marketplace, these are pretty reasonably priced, and I like them as much as an awfully lot of the other really expensive ones that are out there. And then they also have a line of powder blush, and I think that these remind me quite a bit of the NARS blush. Both of these are made in Canada, so I would not be surprised if they were made in the same factory. These do have some squalane in them and some vegetable oil and some avocado oil. I don't feel like they're as soft and as workable as, for instance, the RMS blushes or the House Labs blushes. But I think that these are very nice, and they come in a variety of some different colors. And then one powder product from Beauty that I really like an awful lot are their powder highlighters. I think these may actually be my favorite powder highlighters that are on the market right now. But I do think that an awfully lot of these, especially the powder highlighters and also the powder eyeshadows, are really, really good quality, and they have held up for me really well. So I've had some of these going on for 2 years, and they are still going on my skin really beautifully and blending in really nicely. And so I think that of products that are in the market, these are definitely worth taking a look at. And then here are some of the eyeshadows that I have, so you can see how pretty these colors are. There's a lot of shimmers, and then there's some matte eyeshadows, and I think the shimmers in particular are really gorgeous. And then here's a few more neutral ones that I put together in sort of a latte palette at one point. And I think that all of these have held up really well for me. They haven't gotten dried out, and they blend together really nicely, and they are actually a real pleasure to use. So the downside of this is that if you want this many colors, it's going to cost a lot of money to purchase them all and then to make your own palette. But if you just want a couple of colors to blend together, I think that that is absolutely possible to do with these, and that the shadows themselves, in terms of the formula, are almost as good as really any other shadows on the market. I am very fond of those YSL shadows, so I do still really like those a lot, but otherwise I think that these are really, really nice shadows, and I would just as well have these as anything else. And then the final thing to bring up is that they have on their website in the sets category, they have a refillable palette that is $85, and that is actually a really good deal compared to how much you would spend to fill that palette up. And it is pretty much all like in pinks, and it is all powder products, and I think that if you like those colors, that could be a good way to get started with trying something from Beauty, because I do think that those are all really, really good formulas, and the powder products are very easy to use. And if you like powder products, then I think you will like these. So thank you very much for watching all the way to the end of the video. And if you have tried any products from Beauty so far, then please let me know which ones those are and what your experiences have been. In addition, if you haven't signed up yet to subscribe to this channel, then I hope you will go ahead and do that. And Coco and I love you very much, so thank you very much for watching. Goodbye. Ba-da-ba-da-da-ba, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.